Britain in the 1980s was a nation full of change. The country was embracing new technology, new fashions, and new ideas. Across Britain, the roads were filled with cars that promised a bright future for the nation's motor industry. Many British manufacturers introduced ambitious new models during the decade. Some were designed to compete with luxury European rivals. Others aimed to dominate the family car market. A few even promised to revolutionize the way people thought about British motoring. The advertisements looked impressive. The brochures were full of confidence. The expectations were enormous. Yet not every car lived up to the excitement surrounding its launch. Some suffered reliability problems. Some arrived with outdated designs. Others simply failed to deliver what buyers expected. Today, we're counting down 10 of the most disappointing British cars of the 1980s. These cars weren't necessarily terrible. In fact, many had genuine strengths. But they all shared one thing in common. They promised more than they ultimately delivered. Let's begin. Number 10. Austin Montego. Introduced in 1984 by Austin Rover, the Montego arrived with huge expectations. This was supposed to be the car that would strengthen Britain's position in the family and executive car market. The styling looked modern and practical. The cabin was spacious and comfortable. Several engine choices allowed buyers to select the version that best suited their needs. Many families appreciated its roomy interior and comfortable ride. The Montego seemed perfectly positioned for success. At first, sales were encouraging. Buyers liked the value for money and the practical nature of the car. However, problems soon began to appear. Build quality issues damaged confidence. Reliability concerns became increasingly common. Owners often reported faults that reduced their enthusiasm. The disappointment wasn't that the Montego lacked potential. It actually had plenty of strengths. The problem was that it never fully achieved what Austin Rover hoped it would. Instead of becoming a class leader, it became another example of missed opportunity. Today, it remains an interesting reminder of the challenges facing British manufacturers during the 1980s. Number 9. Jaguar XJ40. When Jaguar unveiled the XJ40 in 1986, expectations could hardly have been higher. This was a long-awaited replacement for the respected Jaguar XJ Series 3. The car featured a modern design with sharp lines and a more contemporary appearance. Inside, buyers found luxury, comfort, and advanced technology. Everything suggested that Jaguar was entering a new era. The car offered smooth six-cylinder engines and a refined driving experience. Many people admired its elegant appearance. Business executives and loyal Jaguar customers were eager to see what the future held. Unfortunately, early examples suffered from various reliability issues. Electrical faults became one of the most common complaints. Some owners experienced frustrating problems that affected the ownership experience. The XJ40 wasn't a bad car, far from it, but buyers expected something exceptional. Instead, they received a car that needed further development. Over time, the model improved significantly. Today, many enthusiasts appreciate the XJ40, but during its early years, it left many people disappointed. Number 8. Rover 800. The Rover 800 was introduced in 1986 and represented one of Rover's biggest ambitions. Developed alongside Honda, the car was intended to challenge executive vehicles from Germany and other European manufacturers. Its styling looked sophisticated. The interior offered comfort and impressive equipment levels. The Rover badge still carried a sense of prestige for many British buyers. Engine choices ranged from economical four-cylinder units to powerful V6 versions. The driving experience felt smooth and refined. On paper, the Rover 800 appeared capable of becoming one of Britain's greatest executive cars. Yet reality proved more complicated. Although many owners enjoyed their cars, reliability concerns continued to appear. Electrical problems became a recurring issue. Build quality also failed to match the standards expected from leading rivals. The disappointment came from the fact that the Rover 800 seemed so close to greatness. It had the looks, it had the comfort, it had the potential, but it never quite achieved the level of excellence many hoped for. Number 7. Milligram Maestro Turbo. By the late 1980s, hot hatchbacks were incredibly popular. Manufacturers across Europe were producing exciting performance cars that appealed to younger drivers. The Milligram Maestro Turbo was Britain's answer. Introduced in 1989, it offered impressive power from its turbocharged engine. The The styling looked sporty and aggressive. Performance figures suggested it could compete with some of Europe's best hot hatches. Enthusiasts were excited. Many believed Britain had finally created a genuine performance hero. The Maestro Turbo was certainly quick. Acceleration was impressive. Straight-line performance attracted attention. However, the overall package left some buyers disappointed. Torque steer became a common criticism. Build quality concerns remained. The handling failed to fully match the potential of the engine. As a result, the car became known for what it could have been rather than what it actually achieved. The ingredients for greatness were present, but they never came together quite as successfully as many had hoped. Number 6. Aston Martin Lagonda. Few cars from the 1980s looked as futuristic as the Aston Martin Lagonda. Its dramatic wedge-shaped styling made it one of the most recognizable luxury cars of the decade. The interior looked even more futuristic. Advanced electronic displays and digital controls gave the impression that the future had arrived early. The powerful V8 engine provided strong performance. Luxury was abundant. Exclusivity was guaranteed. The Lagonda attracted attention wherever it appeared. Many wealthy buyers were fascinated by its design and innovation. Unfortunately, the technology that made the car so impressive also created serious problems. The electronic systems often proved unreliable. Repairs could be expensive and frustrating. Owners sometimes found themselves dealing with faults that were difficult to diagnose. The Lagonda remains one of the most ambitious British luxury cars ever built. Yet its reputation became defined by complexity rather than excellence. That makes it one of the most disappointing British cars of the decade. Number 5. Triumph Acclaim. The Triumph Acclaim holds a unique place in British motoring history. Introduced in 1981, it became the final car ever to wear the Triumph badge. Built through a partnership with Honda, the Acclaim offered reliability, practicality, and sensible engineering. Many buyers appreciated its comfortable ride and efficient engines. The car was easy to drive and relatively dependable. For everyday transport, it performed its role well. Yet that was also part of the problem. The Acclaim lacked excitement. Previous Triumph models had offered personality and character. The Acclaim felt conservative, safe, predictable. While sales were respectable, it never captured the imagination of enthusiasts. People expected the final Triumph to be something memorable. Instead, they received a car that felt ordinary. The disappointment wasn't because it was a poor vehicle. It was because it failed to live up to the heritage of the famous badge it carried. Number 4. Austin Ambassador. When Austin introduced the Ambassador in 1982, it hoped to build upon the strengths of the Princess. The new model offered improved practicality and greater versatility. Its hatchback design made it useful for families. Interior space was generous. Ride comfort remained impressive. On paper, the Ambassador addressed many criticisms aimed at its predecessor. Yet buyers remained difficult to convince. The styling appeared dated compared with new arrivals. Competition from Europe and Japan was becoming stronger every year. Many customers simply chose more modern alternatives. The Ambassador was not without strengths. Owners often praised its comfort and practicality, but it lacked the excitement needed to stand out in an increasingly competitive market. The result was a car that quickly faded into the background. It never achieved the success its creators hoped for, and that disappointment earns it a place on this list. Number 3. Reliant Scimitar SS1. Reliant hoped the Scimitar SS1 would attract a new generation of sports car enthusiasts. Introduced in the mid-1980s, the SS1 featured lightweight construction and distinctive styling. The car certainly looked different. Its sharp lines and sporty proportions attracted attention. Open-top versions added extra appeal. Many people believed Reliant had created something genuinely exciting. The concept was promising. The car appeared capable of reviving interest in affordable British sports cars. However, the reality often felt less impressive. Performance failed to meet expectations. Build quality attracted criticism. Some buyers found that the driving experience did not fully match the sporty appearance. The disappointment wasn't caused by a lack of ambition. The SS1 was certainly ambitious, but it never became the success that Reliant hoped for. Today, it remains an unusual and interesting chapter in British automotive history. Number 2. Austin Maestro. The Austin Maestro was one of Britain's most important car launches of the 1980s. Introduced in 1983, it was intended to become a major competitor in the family hatchback market. The styling looked modern. The interior featured innovative technology. Marketing campaigns created enormous excitement. Initial sales were strong. Buyers believed the Maestro represented a new beginning. Many expected it to become one of Britain's defining cars of the decade. Unfortunately, reliability problems soon began to damage its reputation. Build quality concerns became increasingly difficult to ignore. Rivals from Europe and Japan continued improving while the Maestro struggled to maintain momentum. The car had genuine strengths. It was spacious, practical, and comfortable, but expectations had been set incredibly high. Ultimately, it failed to become the success many believed it would be. And finally, number 1, Morris-Ittle. The Morris-Ittle may have arrived at the start of the 1980s, but it quickly became one of the decade's biggest disappointments. The car was intended to modernize an aging design and keep it competitive in a rapidly changing market. The styling received updates. The interior offered reasonable comfort. The familiar mechanical components helped keep costs down. But beneath the changes, the car still felt outdated. Buyers could see that new arrivals offered more advanced engineering, better refinement, and greater innovation. The Ittle struggled to escape the shadow of its aging origins. Sales never reached the levels hoped for by its manufacturer. Many viewed the car as a symbol of missed opportunity within the British motor industry. Rather than representing the future, it seemed trapped in the past. That gap between expectation and reality makes the Morris-Ittle the most disappointing British car on this list. The 1980s were a fascinating decade for British motoring. Manufacturers introduced ambitious new models and attempted to compete in an increasingly challenging market. Some succeeded, others struggled, and some failed to meet the enormous expectations placed upon them. Yet even the disappointing cars remain important. They tell the story of an industry fighting to adapt during a period of major change. Without these vehicles, Britain's automotive history would not be complete. Today, many of these cars have become rare sights on British roads. Some are cherished by collectors. Others survive only in memories and photographs. But all of them remind us of a decade filled with ambition, innovation, and lessons learned. Their stories continue to fascinate enthusiasts because they show that success is never guaranteed. Sometimes the most interesting cars are not the greatest achievements. Sometimes they are the ones that promised everything and delivered far less. And that is exactly why these disappointing British cars are still remembered today.